My name is Maureen Forrest, better known as Mo. I'm 78 years old, and I've been in pain since I was 14 years old. I have Crohn's disease. I'm going to talk about my father tonight. I know before I've talked about the pain from my mother, her pain. But my father was an abusive alcoholic. I watched him beat my mother. I remember him chasing her down the street with a butcher knife trying to kill her. He would whip my three brothers and me. I remember him holding me up by one arm and whipping me with his belt. And it wasn't spankings, it was whippings. I was so scared of him. I used to tell Mom that my bones shake. And I hated the nighttime. I just hated it when it started to get dark. I was so scared of the night. I never wanted to be out in it. It got to the point that if my dad didn't come home for dinner, we would take 3 different buses and go to my grandmother's house. And one of the bus stops that we had to wait at was by a tavern. And I just hated taverns. I remember sitting in the car waiting for him to come out. And I saw our neighbor go in the tavern. And it wasn't but a few days later, she was visiting my mother, and it was lunchtime, and she was helping to make lunch. And gave me a sandwich, and I refused to eat it. And it was, why won't you eat? Why won't you eat? Well, I wouldn't say why I wouldn't eat. But I wouldn't eat because I saw her in a tavern. And taverns were evil, and they were bad, and they hurt you. And she touched it. I couldn't eat anything that somebody like that touched. My uncle was a Catholic priest, my mother's brother. And he asked her, why don't you leave? And she said, because it's a sin to get a divorce. And my uncle said, God does not want you to live this way. And he said, and I will help you. She became his housekeeper. So I lived in a rectory for a few years. And life was better. It was a lot better. I was 7 years old when we moved. So everything that happened before, I was pretty young. But I still felt that danger that night could hurt you. Night was a bad time. And at one time then, my dad found us and he came, and my mom always would move way back when he was around. And I heard my mom say, if you quit drinking for a year, we can get back together. And I would have nightmares. I'd have a nightmares that he would find us and that he would kill us all. I remember before we left him being passed out on the kitchen floor. My mom says, I have to give him his insulin shot or he'll die. And I went around into the other room and I prayed to God that she wouldn't give him his shot. I feel kind of guilty about that now, but I know I shouldn't. But my pain and my suffering was from my fears of the nighttime. And I know that chronic pain is often there's been a trauma. And my childhood trauma, that was what did it for me. I was 12 years old when he died. My mom got a phone call and she yelled and then cried. And my first thought was, Daddy's coming, Daddy's gonna come and get us. Oh no, and I was scared to death. And my oldest brother said, no, Daddy is dead. And once he died, then my dreams did stop. I quit having those dreams of him. The doctor, and that's in my 20s, and because of my constant pain, I can remember being on the living room floor and in so much pain that I couldn't move. My husband had to pick me up and take me to the bedroom. It hurt so much at night. And I got thinking, well, Maybe it was because of dinner. I shouldn't eat dinner at night. I didn't know what it was. But my doctor sent me to a psychiatrist. And after having talked to her a while, she said to me, I think that your pain, or I think your problem with the night is because that's when your dad would come home. And I thought, bingo, that's it. But I had no instructions. I had nothing telling me how to handle it or what to do with it. So my thought of pain was, you just live with it. It's something that happens. This is your fate in life. You just live with it. And there was no way out of it or nothing that you could do to get around it. Then my son had taken some ACT classes from Leanne Dice, and he suggested that I take them. And they really help. They help the nerves and the calming. But Leanne suggested that I go to the Lebanon Hospital with physical therapy department, take the MAPS classes, movement, mindfulness, and pain science. Well, the pain science really, really got me because I'm always been interested in that type of thing. So I went, the doctor approved me to go, and I went. And then my life changed. I can't tell you how much it changed after that. I learned that chronic pain is when there's no tissue damage. I never knew that. I thought it just meant it was bad pain. So if there's no tissue damage, then how in the heck am I expect a doctor to fix me? You know, there's nothing that he could do for my body physically. And so I had to work on it. And I learned that I have a powerful brain, and we all do. You do too. The brain controls the pain. And I put it not as very professional, but I start understanding what I was doing. I knew that I had so much anxiety and stress and negative thoughts and my emotions and my fears. I was so afraid of the night, and I hated it if I had to be out in it. It just scared me to death. I was just sure there was danger in the night. And I learned that chronic pain comes from a trauma that you've had, and especially childhood trauma. And so that made sense to me. But the important thing I learned was that I could reprogram my brain. I call it reprogramming my brain. But, you know, how did I do this? Well, one thing that I learned and I practiced a lot on was the mindfulness and perception. I learned that if I perceive pain, I'm going to have it. Guaranteed. There are no doubts. If you think something's going to hurt, by gum, it's going to hurt. So I learned with all the different tests and stuff I had to perceive it just being fine. Nothing hurts. When a couple of times they put needles into my spine, and I would visualize it beforehand. And visualization is very helpful for me too. And I would visualize the needle being just covered with Vaseline, and it just slides right on in, and there's no pain. Everything's just great. And the doctors are always amazed about how I handle it. With the night fear and my increased pain during the night, what I did was deep breathing for one thing. Dr. Kakaro says that's the most healthy thing that we could do. And I would breathe, I'd close my eyes, and it's very relaxing. And I would breathe through my nose, belly breathe, and my stomach would expand, and then it would come back out and through my mouth. And I could feel the breath coming in and out. And while I'm doing this, I was visualizing that I was very peaceful and that I was very strong and that I was a good person. And that the nighttime was a very peaceful time. It was a quiet time. And there was nothing out there in the dark that wasn't there during the day. The same trees, the same houses, the same roads. Everything is good except for that it was more peaceful at night. And I would do this maybe 10 minutes a couple times a day at least. And it takes a little while. But what happened was my thought in my brain, I had a strong thought that said, nighttime is danger, you're going to be hurt. And we know that pain is a protector. So it sends out the message, hurt, you're in danger, you better do something. And so my something, pain, and was to stay home, to stay out of it. And so by doing the mindfulness and the meditation, I was able to make the thing in my brain, the attachment, I don't know what to call it, that was making me think that it was danger. And I was able to weaken that and not have that be my main thought. And I was able to make peacefulness my main thought. And it's nice outside. The darkness is a peaceful time. And I was able to change that thought. I have absolutely no fear of the night anymore. I don't cramp up at night. I don't hurt worse at night. My Crohn's, I can be off the toilet at night because my Crohn's is better at night. It takes a long time to do it, but it's sure worth the trouble. There's many things that can help you. What helps me may not help someone else because we're all different. But I suggest that you work on some things, the perceiving of pain. I was in the Walmart store and I was having a hard time, and my son was in the car, and I thought, boy, I can't do this. I'm hurting too much. And I thought, Maureen, you know better. And so I start noticing all the colors. So I was saying all the colors to myself, red, pink, green, everything that I noticed. And I was able, because I wasn't thinking of my pain, I was able to finish my shopping and check out. You know, we've all had a bruise. We don't know where it came from because our mind was on something else. I am happy now. I feel more peaceful than I ever did before. I feel that I've overcome my childhood and the past. At one time, I was on 18 different medications, including opioids. I now have 6 medications. I take a lot of, but 3 of them are vitamin minerals, and I take turmeric and other things plus the medications. I've had 16 surgeries, and I really feel that if I had known this, I wouldn't have had so many surgeries, especially the back surgery. But probably one of the most important things that I did is I forgave my dad. And how did I do this? Well, you know, I looked at my family. I have 3 brothers. 2 of them are alcoholic. It was headed for 3, but one decided to quit drinking. My 2 sons, one was alcoholic. And my brother's 3 children, 2 were alcoholic. My brother was alcoholic. My other brother had a child that was alcoholic. My family has dyslexia, bad cases, some of us, and attention deficit. And sometimes it's hard getting along in this world with that. We're smart people, but people don't realize it. Like one of my problems is the speech and pronouncing words correctly. But I got looking and I got thinking, you know, their drinking is not because their father was an alcoholic. They're drinking to self-medicate. It's the dyslexia and the attention deficit and trying to get things going for themselves in this world. And in those days, there wasn't help for that. I had one brother that after his freshman year of high school, they decided he wasn't educatable. I mean, how sad, really. And there wasn't much help in my dad's age for somebody, especially for the nerve part, the part that he used the drink for to calm himself down. My mother always said, love your dad, he's sick. But I never could understand how she could say that. That just seemed crazy to me that she could say something like that. But she was right. He was sick and he was self-medicating. And so I have his picture out. I wish that I had been able to know the him part first, the part that my mother fell in love with. Those are more the things that I think about. I'm not scared anymore. My life has really changed. My pain is so much better. I have been going through a thing with my back pain lately, but I read a book and it went right out of my mind. Oh, Raleigh, you know the name of the book we all talked about.
Yeah, The Way Out.
Yeah, The Way Out. And that got me going in the right direction again, and I learned some new things. And I really encourage you to study. We have a resource list. I encourage people to go on book and search pain science. Dr. Mosley, he's great. He has some wonderful things. And there is help for you out there. Don't think there's not. It's wonderful. And think about a time when your pain started and were you having trauma at that time. And if you were, there's so many things that you can do. And I just gave you a few of the things that helped me.